He literally cracks life's ultimate cheat code and lands a level 7 civil servant position in Korea without even taking the exam. Meanwhile, some of you are out here studying for years just to get hit with better luck next time. It starts with him giving a clean salute, thanking his superior for the recommendation. The commander congratulates him on joining the intelligence service as a special recruit. He smiles and calls the young soldier lucky. He keeps it polite and says he only made it because his commander looked out for him. The officer immediately bursts out laughing, throwing up hand signs and casually dropping his new salary, which would be double what he is making. 2 years later, he is living like a low-key legend, casually eating fried ribs in Dandong, China, while pulling in 5 million won a month for doing almost nothing. From the outside, the apartment looks pretty small, but he already knows some keyboard warriors would be ready to call it a waste of public money. Lying on the floor, he looks toward the professional camera aimed outside, because his talent is considered satellite level and worth hundreds of billions. Finally, he gets up and prepares to begin the mission. At the same time, global politics are doing their usual chaos. After the ICBM launches and the 6th nuclear test, the United States has imposed heavy sanctions on North Korea. Because of that pressure, one of North Korea's few remaining trade lifelines is the Amnok River Bridge in Dandong. The United States monitors the area through military satellites worth hundreds of billions, and South Korea watches through him. So his job is mostly sitting in front of a screen all day, but he still sees himself as a high-level asset. Then he hears the apartment door unlock. He reacts instantly, pulls out his pistol, and points it at the man walking in. The visitor is an older man in a trench coat. Instead of panicking, the man calmly asks if his day off went well and invites him out to eat. He lowers the gun and agrees to go with him. They head to a neon-lit restaurant. A waitress in a red dress is serving the food, and our protagonist's eyes drift her way for a second too long. The older man catches it immediately and says he is going to burn a hole in her face if he keeps staring like that. He denies it and quickly says he is only waiting for the menu. Even the viewers with zero game can tell that the excuse is hanging on by a thread. Choi, the oldie, is a senior contact at NIS and a veteran Black Ops agent who has spent 20 years building a human intelligence network in China. Since the NIS overseas organization operates as a point-to-point network, Choi is the only contact he knows in Dandong. While they sit there, Choi asks about the truck they have been tracking at the Amnok River Bridge. He says he has not seen it. Choi tells him to stay sharp and report anything suspicious right away. Then Lingling, the waitress, brings out their food. Before he can even thank her, Choi is already shoving food into his mouth and complimenting how much his Chinese has improved. Choi warns him not to get used to this city because it is a powder keg. Wolves are hidden among sheep here. Intelligence agents from South Korea, the United States, China, Russia, and Japan are all mixed into the city. On top of that, the triads are active here, and so is North Korea's secret organization, Room 39. If a real incident breaks out in a place like this, the entire world could feel it. He goes quiet for a moment, finally realizing this is not just some spy fantasy anymore. Pulling himself together, he asks what the biggest concern is right now. Choi says the Room 39 truck is definitely a serious concern, but there is something more urgent. Then the commander drops the next assignment, which is to photograph a drug deal happening tonight involving a low-level triad group. He immediately pushes back, saying he is a pigeon, not a peregrine falcon, and this is straight-up fieldwork. Choi simply puts a 5 million won overtime bonus on the table, and suddenly this man remembers he loves his job. He heads out and slips into the bushes with his camera, ready to collect proof. From his hiding spot, he starts taking photos of the deal while trying to figure out who the other side is. As the exchange happens, he zooms in for clearer shots. Then he suddenly sees the North Korean truck from Room 39, and his whole expression changes. Choi had asked him about that exact truck earlier. Before he can report anything to NIS, someone presses a weapon against his head. A large man demands to know who he is. He stammers and begs him not to shoot, but the aggressor quickly figures out that he is a South Korean agent. When he looks around, he realizes multiple men are aiming guns at him, and there is no path left to run. He tries to lie and says he is just a lost traveler, but even that excuse sounds dead on arrival. The man does not look impressed by his explanation, like a boss hearing the same leave excuse for the 3rd time this month. Then he notices the camera too, and the situation gets even worse. With nowhere left to go, he lies again and claims he was only taking pictures of migratory birds. The answer he gets is a punch straight to the face. He keeps insisting he is only there to take photos, but the aggressor does not buy any of it. Instead, he orders his men to attach a silencer and kill him. As the pistol is prepared, fear finally hits him hard. He reminds himself that he was specially recruited by NIC as an undercover intelligence agent. He was sent here to take pictures and pass along information. The reason he was recruited in the first place is that his military unit strongly recommended him. That memory pulls him into a flashback. Before joining NIC, he was Sergeant First Class Kang Chang-seon, an elite soldier in the Republic of Korea Army Special Warfare Command. His commander had talked about luck, but that was never the full story. Our protagonist was the kind of soldier who made everyone else look like background characters in their own squad. Even after dealing with dangerous people throughout his military career, he admits he has never seen monsters like these before. Back in the present, that elite mode kicks in. He knocks the gun away, punches the aggressor, steals the weapon, and turns the whole scene upside down. Another man aims a shotgun at him, so he grabs the first guy as a human shield and starts firing like a pro. His eyes turn cold and focused, finally exposing the beast of a soldier hiding under that laid-back pigeon act. Before long, the henchmen are down and he is the only one left standing in the middle of the mess. Then reality catches up with him. The gunshots will bring the triads in room 39 over any second, and cleaning this up is about to be a nightmare. Gunfire starts from every direction as the triads fire from one side and the North Korean soldiers answer from the other, while Changsung stays crouched in the middle. He clocks it as a 30-to-1 disadvantage and immediately switches into survival mode. First, he needs a weapon, and second, he needs a distraction. Looking around, he spots an AK lying on the ground nearby. Then he hears yelling about killing all the Chinese, and for a second he just freezes and listens. After that, he starts recording what is happening. Through the camera lens, he watches the triads and the North Korean soldiers turn on each other in real time, and suddenly nobody is paying attention to him anymore. While filming, he starts piecing it together. The North Korean side seems to have mistaken his attack for a triad's ambush. He keeps staring at the mess, trying to make sense of it, while these two groups keep throwing bullets at each other like broke siblings fighting over inheritance that was never theirs. Basically, the shots came from his side, but both groups assumed the other had pulled a surprise attack. Or maybe the bigger truth is that neither side ever planned to keep the deal clean. The triads wanted the cash and the drugs, and the North Koreans wanted everybody dead so they could keep the money for themselves. Once the gunfire finally dies down, Changsung looks over the scene and realizes he got lucky. With the AK in hand, he moves carefully through the area. The entire deal site is wiped out, bodies are spread across the ground, and nobody is left standing. He tries to figure out what happened and leave before the next problem shows up. As he passes the gas station, he takes a second to notice how insane it is that these men were firing this close to fuel. As he searches for any evidence worth reporting, something on the ground makes him stop cold. His face goes blank for a second, and then the shock hits. The scene cuts to a military base in Korea, where a commanding officer flips through a file and quietly reads out a name, Kang Changsung's name. He then calls him a legend, and not just because his combat ability was monstrous. There was a completely different reason people remembered him. He starts telling the story of when they were deployed together. On one mission, Changsung recovered stolen military supplies. When asked how he pulled it off, he casually replied that he picked them up on the way there. Then came another mission where Changsung captured a wanted terror suspect. When asked how, somehow the answer got even crazier. He said he was on his way to grocery shopping when the suspect crossed his path. No wonder, when it comes to Changsung, logic packs its bags and clocks out early. Then on a third mission, he rescued hostages, and when they asked how he managed that one, the answer was the same kind of nonsense. He said he was on his way to the bathroom and found them in his way. The commander puts it simply, Changsung moves through impossible situations with a level of luck that refuses to follow any normal rule. And right now, this same man is back with the NES, once again stumbling into something by pure luck. Back at the wrecked drug deal in Dandong, Changsung finds a briefcase and opens it. Inside are stacks of cash packed neatly together, around $2 million, which comes out to about 2.4 billion won. The second he sees that number, everything else around him seems to stop. He lifts the cash closer to his face and his brain just disconnects for a second. That amount is more than double Korea's top first-place lottery prize. Meanwhile, half the viewers hearing that just realized their entire life savings would not even scratch the surface. He forces himself to snap out of it and immediately starts cleaning everything up. He locates the nearby CCTV cameras and destroys them. He wipes the footage, buries the money and the drugs near the gas station, and wraps the whole scene up as neatly as possible. Just like that, the cover-up is done. Then he rides off into the night on his motorcycle with the helmet on. But one question keeps grinding in the back of his mind. Should he tell old man Choi about the 2.4 billion won? His thoughts drift back to his family in Korea, especially his younger siblings, who grew up without parents and had it rough the whole time. The idea hangs there for a moment. Maybe he just stays quiet. He keeps riding through Dandong, while the city stays lit up and busy, but the whole mood flips in an instant. The money stops mattering because a much worse problem has just taken its place. An upper-level NIS base has been attacked, and it is not just any base. It belongs to Old Man Choi, the Black Ops agent who spent 20 years building the entire human intelligence network across China. The same man who was his only contact in Dandong. Now he is murdered. And that means everything is exposed. Room 39, the Triads, MSS, CIRO, CIA, every intelligence organization in that area can now get access to what Choi built over 2 decades. Names, locations, operations, all of it could already be in their hands. Right in the middle of that is Changsung's own file, and all his details. With danger closing in from every side, one thought cuts through everything else. If he does not get out of China immediately, he will be dead. A highway cuts through the night as a road sign flashes past him, G228. So yeah, he is already out of Dandong. The next location appears right after that, Dalian, a port city in Liaoning province. He rides through the dark on his motorcycle at full speed. Then the emergency rule kicks in. If the people above his reporting line go missing or die, he has to evacuate to a designated safe house. So he heads there right away, goes inside and walks directly to the emergency phone setup. He activates the system and pulls out a small device with a code display. The number is 505, which means SOS. He picks up the receiver and the line connects. He identifies himself first as Dandong Pigeon 5. Then he gives the reason for using the safe house. His superior contact, Old Man Choi Pigeon 2, is dead. He keeps it short that the possibility of his exposure is high, so the situation is dangerous. And just like that, the worst thought in his head gets stamped official. A bright light suddenly floods in from outside. He pauses in the middle of the call and watches a car enter the safe house. His face turns pale, and in the next moment he is already in custody. His hands are cuffed, and he is sitting inside a vehicle in silence. Then a man in a suit points a suppressed pistol right at his face and tells him he is not taking questions. Instead, the man demands his fingerprint. Another guy grabs his hand and scans it right there in the car. The system confirms his identity. It is indeed Dandong Pigeon 5. The gunman says it is for security purposes. Then they cover his head and drag him out. He asks if this is the Dalian safe house, but the only answer he gets is not to ask questions and just follow. After that, they bring him into a room and finally remove the cover. The man tells him to stay there until further instructions come from headquarters. There is a bathroom inside, so he is not allowed to step outside. Then the handler unlocks his cuffs, tells him to sleep as it is late, and leaves with a promise to see him in the morning. Time passes, and the clock keeps moving. He lies there awake and shirtless on the bed. His thoughts keep circling back to the same point. Old Man Choi was murdered on the same day as the shootout. There is a high chance the assassins are connected to what happened there. And if that is true, then there is also a serious chance they will come for him next, since he was Choi's direct subordinate. That thought keeps looping in his head. If he cannot get out of China, he is going to die. Even then, he still hangs on to one last hope. The company will get him out safely, right? Morning comes and now he gets his answer. He is brought into a meeting and immediately hears the worst possible news, which is that he has to report back to work. That means they are sending him back to die, especially when his identity and workplace may already have been exposed. The handler stays calm and says headquarters has determined that he will be safe. That only makes him snap harder, so he asks what exactly that decision is based on. Then the answer lands right in his face. It is because he is just a low-level NES employee. He freezes for a second, then asks for that to be repeated. The handler explains it with zero warmth. Everybody already knows agents monitor the Amnok River Bridge. China's MSS, North Korea's Reconnaissance General Bureau, and even other countries roughly know he exists. There is no real benefit in eliminating him, and doing it would only be a hassle. He is stunned. Then he tries to argue his value. He says America uses satellites, but he replaces those satellites in the field. So that should make him important too. The handler does not even blink. He says all of the company's work is important. However, if he disappears, he can be replaced by another employee in no time. So he should just go to work. Bro really gets told he matters on paper and is replaceable before lunch like any other corporate employee. The scene shifts again as the sun comes up. Because a low-level staff is easily replaceable if he dies, they say nobody will bother going through the hassle of killing him. So in the end, he returns to base. He slumps on the couch looking wrecked, with cans and snacks scattered on the table and his laptop still open. He asks himself if he is really that insignificant, not even worth killing. That is a brutal way to ruin someone's self-esteem without even raising your voice. While he is lying on his couch completely devastated, two men in suits quietly enter from behind the couch, and one of them is already holding a red axe. He is lying there, chewing on a snack, completely unaware for one fatal second. Then the attacker swings. The axe comes down hard, slicing straight through the snack bag and slamming into the couch where he was just lying. The men are shocked because they missed. Down below, he is already crouched under the table, staring back at them with that same cold, dangerous look in his eyes. Then the final word drops. Joyful. In Dandong City, Liaoning Province, under bright red lights, a sharp axe hangs right over a man's face. He starts apologizing on the spot, begging and swearing he will never sell drugs in secret in Black Dragon Society territory again. The man holding the axe finally comes into full view. This huge man is Wang Yudong, the Black Dragon Society's Dandong branch manager. Yudong asks the man if he stole the drugs from the gas station. The guy panics and says no. He claims they were dealing with Malaysian smuggled goods and that none of it was stolen. Meanwhile, bodies are already scattered around the room. He keeps crying and says they are not insane enough to steal from the Black Dragon Society, then adds that he does not even know what gas station they are talking about, and begs them to believe him just once. Then another voice cuts in from the back and calls out to Yudong. This man checks the drugs in his hand and calmly says the quality is low. Based on the turbidity, it is not of high grade. His name is Wu Shi, the vice branch manager of the Black Dragon Society's Dandong branch, and he says it looks like the man was telling the truth after all. For one tiny second, hope comes back. The crying man lights up immediately and agrees with everything Wu Shi says. He even says he was only trying to make a little extra cash. Yudong looks at him and says he will believe him, then brings the axe down anyway. The axe drops hard, and blood splashes across the floor. Yudong makes it clear that if the triads are the kings of China, then the Black Dragon Society is the king of Liaoning province. Somebody dared to raid their deal site and steal their drugs and dollars. That includes the people secretly selling drugs and the ones spending dollars like water. Even the Koreans around that old Nias man they killed last time. Yudong orders them all dragged in and says he is going to rip the culprit's face off, while the man is still alive. He does not care if they come in missing limbs. Back at the base, Changsong moves first before they can finish moving at all. He launches in fast and throws a punch at the guy with the axe. The man tries to attack with his axe, but Changsong slips inside and smashes him in the face. Then he keeps going, punch after punch, turning this guy into a stress relief session. Another man rushes him with a knife. He blocks it cleanly. The knife and the axe both go flying. Both attackers get slammed hard, and one of them lets out a full scream when he crashes. Then Changsong stands there in that green tracksuit, looking calm again like the room was never out of control in the first place. Bro really thinks he is the main character, and honestly right now he is not wrong. Outside, it is still night, but inside the whole script flips. One of the attackers gets hit in the face, comes to and looks up to see Changsong standing over him and asking him to wake up. That has to be the worst alarm clock ever invented. Both men are tied up on the floor now, yelling at him to untie them. He just says no. One of them starts shouting, asking if he has any idea who he is. Changsong says he does not. The man screams that he has made a huge mistake and introduces himself as Fan Zhendong, the second in command of the Brown Bear Gang. He keeps yelling and asks what is wrong with Changsong, whether his Chinese is bad or if he just does not understand the situation. Then he finally explains the part that actually matters. The Brown Bear Gang in Dandong is protected by the Black Dragon Society. Changsong finally puts the chain together. The Black Dragon Society sits under the triads. Once he gets the hierarchy, he says it out loud. So what that really means is this guy is a subcontractor of a subcontractor. Then he adds that he is supposed to know whether he is some big shot at a tiny company. Even a know-it-all AI would not know this idiot. Then he tells him not to use that "do you know who I am" line. Again, unless he is talking to his mother, because she is probably the only one still subscribed to that story. The guy tries to recover by complimenting his Chinese, but Changsong shuts that down right away and tells him to answer the questions before his philtrum gets crushed with a dumbbell. That is when the part that really matters comes out. The base has been exposed by the Brown Bear Gang, which is a subordinate group under the Black Dragon Society. Changsong gets to work on his laptop while the interrogation keeps going. He requests that NIS headquarters shut the base down. From what he pulls out of the Brown Bear Gang's second in command, the reason the Black Dragon Society killed Old Man Choi was to interfere with the investigation into illegal drugs. The Brown Bear Gang only came to capture the Koreans inside Choi's building. They did not come because they knew yet that Changsong stole the money and drugs, but now that he has detained one of their men, that layer of protection is gone, which means both the Black Dragon Society and the Triads are going to be after him now. He looks at the screen and thinks the order to close the base should arrive soon. He is already imagining the next step, going dark and getting out of China, when the message finally comes in. Base closure is impossible because of the recent gas station incident. The leader of Room 39 is scheduled to cross the bridge within a few hours, so he has to succeed in taking photographs. Because of that, he has to keep his current position and stay put. At that point, he grabs his head and realizes he is screwed. He stares at the mess he made and the job he still has to finish. Then he hears something. The keypad on the door starts beeping. He gets up and opens it, and standing there is a brand new problem in human form. A red-haired guy in a suit is already talking before the door is even fully open, asking if his brother is in there. Behind him is a whole gang carrying weapons, and the situation is about to get worse. Changsong thinks about how intelligence agents look in movies, where everything is discreet, classy, and sexy. On the surface, he admits he has managed to look a little like that himself. One man steps forward and loudly introduces himself as Wang Chojin, the leader of Dandong's Brown Bear Gang. Changsong can only admit to himself that he is stuck handling these clowns. The gang starts pressing him, asking if he even knows who they are. And just like some of you, Changsong starts laughing at the worst possible moment. Wang Chojin gets offended immediately and charges in with a knife. That is when the whole scene flips. Before anyone can react, Changsong drops multiple opponents in one clean burst. 3 more rush him right after, but he does not even slow down. One punch, then another, and in a flash 4 of them are already down. Now the panic starts spreading. They whisper to each other, trying to make sense of it because this is not supposed to happen. In their heads, this is real life, not some action movie where one guy casually clears a group by himself. Changsong feels that same disconnect too. Reality is different from the movies, but that does not mean it gets easier. He picks up a hammer, accepts what is in front of him, and gets ready to deal with it the hard way. The tension rises again. The gang hesitates, caught between rushing in and backing off. Meanwhile, he stands his ground and tells them to come at him if they really want to fight. Then another voice cuts through the scene. Someone says a rookie made his senior come all the way to Dandong in the middle of the night. He keeps roasting the new generation too, saying recruits these days are completely hopeless. Corporate bullying really sounds the same in everywhere. The man then looks over and asks if this is the one called Pigeon 5. This senior is actually Peregrine Falcon 9, an NIS Black Ops agent and a field combat specialist. Chang Sung checks if that really is Peregrine Falcon 9, and the senior says he already made that clear in his message from headquarters. Then he says Chang Sung's first word should be an apology. He is clearly irritated because the most basic rule of intelligence work is not getting caught, yet somehow this rookie let a safe house get exposed by street thugs. Chang Sung explains that the building belonged to the late Pigeon 2, so the Brown Bear gang came here, and he is only inside because the headquarters told him to use it. That answer does not calm his senior down at all. He snaps at him for talking back to the senior who came to protect him. Chang Sung apologizes right away, but that is still not enough. The senior says he cannot even control his facial expressions. The senior moves back to the mission and asks about the target headquarters that ordered him to film. Chang Sung answers quickly that he already filmed it and sent the footage earlier. The target is presumed to be number 4, the person in charge of room 39. The senior immediately asks the next obvious question, then why is he still here, instead of getting ready to withdraw? That is when Chang Sung hesitates and admits there is still one problem left. He reveals that some thugs are tied up inside the room. The senior instantly loses patience. He asks if Chang Seong is insane and points out how reckless it is to expose his identity without even covering his face. Chang Seong awkwardly admits that it is already too late because they have already seen him. That only makes the lecture worse. The senior grabs him and tears into him, saying he exposed both his face and the safe house and still has the nerve to call himself a Black Ops agent. Chang Song tries to defend himself by saying it was a surprise attack and he could not help it, but none of that is saving him now. In the end, the senior shuts the whole argument down and takes over. He says he will handle the cleanup himself, then hits him with a firing notice. After that, he orders him to leave the country by tomorrow and never come back. He even says that if he enters again, he will kill the rookie himself. Then comes the final hit. He tells him straight up that he is not agent material. Chung Song stands there looking wrecked. Under his breath, he says he cannot quit being an NIS agent yet, not until he finds the 2.4 billion won. He runs through it in his head and wonders if there is still any way out after getting shut down this hard. Right now, it really does not look like there is one. Then the senior opens the door to check the tied up men and freezes. Headquarters reported only 2 thugs, but inside there are way more than that. He turns and asks why there are so many. Chang Song casually replies that they have increased a bit since earlier, around 15 more, then asks if that is difficult to handle. That sends the senior over the edge. He starts cursing and shouts that killing 17 civilians at once is not the work of an intelligence agent. That is what a terrorist does. He demands to know what Chang Song plans to do about this, and how he is supposed to fix the information leak. Chang Song goes quiet for a second and starts thinking. Then his face changes. He raises a finger and says he has a way to solve this, quietly. After that, he leans forward and says this one thing will solve everything. The senior just stares at him, completely thrown off, and can only think one thing. This rookie is an absolute madman. The tied-up thugs look at each other and instantly realize these are the exact men the Black Dragon Society has been hunting. One of them tells the others to untie themselves and get out first, because no matter what happens, they have to catch them. Because if they fail here, Wang Yudong from the Black Dragon Society is going to wipe them all out. One of the tied men asks the obvious question, how are they supposed to catch anybody when this happened, even after all of them jumped him at once? Chang Song watches the whole thing in silence. Then Wang Chujin asks him to let them go, but before he can even finish the sentence, gasoline starts pouring over him. Chang Song calmly tells him that since they saw his face, he cannot let them live. The red-haired guy starts screaming, while he just stands there with that peaceful smile that somehow makes it worse. Then he calls him combustible trash and flicks the lighter. Right there, the scene cuts back 10 minutes earlier. Just before everything got this insane, the senior agent looks at Chang Song and admits that new recruits do weird things. But even for that standard, this guy is built differently. Chang Song says the gas can should finish the problem, and the senior asks what exactly he plans to do with it. Then he replies that he is going to use it to ask the tied-up gang how they should handle this situation. The senior asks why he needs that when he could just ask Niftik Sisha. Chang Sishong immediately shuts that down and says no, he is going to ask the Brown Bear gang instead. Then the scene jumps back to the gang room, where the rookie has the lighter out and starts pressing them for answers. One thug blurts out that what he is spraying is just lubricant, and Chang Sishong tells him that if you spray it, the gears turn faster, and so does the brain. Then he asks them to explain why they deserve to live. The tied men completely break and ask why he even wants to kill them. Chang Song says the answer is simple. The Black Dragon Society will be a pain if they keep chasing him, and on top of that, all of them have seen his face. Wang Chujin points out that he is the one who showed it to them in the first place. Chang Song does not even argue properly. He just keeps repeating that they saw his face. At that point, the red-haired guy finally understands he picked a fight with the wrong man. In his head, talking to Chang Song feels like talking to a bear, except this bear also comes with gasoline and a lighter, so he switches tactics fast and starts begging. He promises that if Chang Song lets them go, none of them will ever say a word about today, and as the leader of the Brown Bear gang, he swears he can keep his men quiet. Chang Song says he is not buying it. He straight up tells them goodbye, and the whole room loses it. Wang Chujin panics and begs for one moment, saying he will think of a way. Chang Song pauses, stands there with the lighter in his hand, and tells him that without a good plan, death is unavoidable. He points out that their real task was to find the suspects, but instead of finding them, the entire Brown Bear gang got folded by one man. Then he asks the gang leader if he really thinks the Black Dragon Society will just leave them alone after that. If the Black Dragon Society works anything like the Triads, then these guys are finished. At best they survive long enough to get looked down on for the rest of their lives, and even that is the generous version. Chang Song then says that if they cannot give him a real reason to trust their silence, they have to die. The room goes dead quiet for a second, and he asks if nobody has any ideas. That finally pushes Wang Chojin into blurting out that he has a plan. Chang Song warns him that if the idea is something useless like "please trust me," then he is dead on arrival. The gang leader tells him to listen first, then says he can spill everything he knows about the Black Dragon Society. That gets Chang Song's attention immediately. He tells him to keep talking. Wang Chujin says leaking Black Dragon Society information means death, and helping that leak also means death, which is exactly why nobody in that room would dare open their mouth later. Then he adds the key part. If Chang Song records a video of all their weaknesses with everyone present in the room, that footage becomes their lifeline. Chang Song stares at him and thinks it over. He asks if they are really fine with putting their lives in his hands like that. Wang Chujin answers with a tired honesty that their current situation is not any different anyway. Chang Song thinks it through and realizes this could actually work for him in more ways than one. He needs to stay in China so he can secretly move the 2.4 billion won he is after. He also needs more information on the Black Dragon Society if he wants to continue digging into Old Man Choi's drug operation. On top of that, if these guys cannot talk right away, then he buys himself time, and Naes probably cannot force him to quit immediately either. Once that whole chain clicks into place, he smiles and decides the plan is perfect. So he tells the senior he is starting the recording. The senior agrees and gets the camera ready, though even he looks stunned watching this unfold. While filming, he admits he has been in the business for a long time, but this is the first time he has seen somebody like Chang Song. By every normal standard, exposing a base and exposing your own identity is an unforgivable fatal mistake for an intelligence agent. But somehow this same rookie subdued 17 men alone without civilian casualties, kept them silent with quick thinking, secured information on the Black Dragon Society and the drug organization, and still completed the filming mission in the middle of all that chaos. Even the senior wonders if Chang Song is a total failure or some kind of S-rank monster in disguise. Then the recording officially starts. Chang Song steps into frame with the gang leader, tells him to state his name and occupation, and the guy nervously identifies himself as Wang Chujin, leader of the Brown Bear gang. Chang Song says he heard Wang has some secrets to share today, and the man confirms it. He asks how a group this bad at fighting even loses 17-1, then mocks Wang for being embarrassed, and calls him a fragile little man. That line hits so hard that the senior almost short-circuits behind the camera. He just stares for a second, wipes his forehead, and decides the company has definitely hired a complete lunatic. A government complex sits under the Korean flag, and the focus shifts straight into an intelligence briefing. A report comes in that Dove 5 has successfully pulled off the operation. A female agent explains that Dove 5 captured the RDIM 34 leader and moved him to Dandong. Behind her, Dove 5's image stays on the screen, while the officials in the room listen in silence. The agent continues explaining that the target had been kept hidden until now. She calls the whole development unusual. Yeah, that is already a red flag factory. Deputy Director Nam Woo-sung sits at the table in a suit. He questions why such a major figure would move in Dandong of all places. The explanation shifts to Dandong's messy situation. In a black and white flashback, armed men fire in the dark, muzzle flashes lighting up the scene. Nam points out that the area sits between North Korea, China, and the Triads, making unexplained incidents common there. Basically the geopolitical equivalent of bro, anything can happen, don't ask questions. The female agent pushes back, asking whether they still have no conclusion. Then she says that based on what has been confirmed so far, the stolen goods included 20 kilograms of ephedrine and $2 million. The female agent says the traces were completely erased, and the cover-up was handled perfectly. The female agent turns serious and says there are two possibilities. Nam listens closely from the side. The first possibility is that it could have been a large-scale armed operation, organized either by North Korea or by the Triads. Then she introduces the second possibility, that it could have been a third party, not an army, not a faction, a single highly trained professional whose identity is unknown. The female agent adds that this person's exact objective is still completely unknown. Nam immediately reacts badly. He grips his head, sweating, like the second theory just installed malware in his brain. Don wipes at his face and admits that the second possibility gives him chills. The briefing describes someone confusing both sides with traps, taking the RDIM 34 leader from the contact hall, and then disappearing without leaving a trace. The female agent says that kind of move is something only legendary enders on an extreme level could pull off. She warns that if someone like that keeps operating around the Triads, Dandong and the surrounding northeastern region will turn into a war zone. She says they should watch this person separately and treat the matter as top priority. Nam agrees that they will use this opportunity to capture the person alive. The female agent looks ready for action, and the order goes out to deploy every available agent immediately. A map highlights Changchun and the surrounding region, with Dandong marked nearby. Nam raises his hand and gives the order to begin the operation to capture the RDIM 34 leader. The assignment is labeled for an NIS entry-level agent. That is wild. They really looked at an international powder keg and said, "Send the damned rookie." The scene jumps to a cramped street between buildings. 2 cars are parked badly, blocking the driveway. Someone angrily complains about who would park like that and who blocked the path with their car. A red-haired man in a loose suit steps forward with other men behind him. He calls out to the old-timers and tells them to cherish what little time they have left. 2 elderly men face him, annoyed and confused. One asks why the red-haired man is telling them to move their car. Red-haired leans in with a vicious grin as he says that today he will take not only their business but their lives too. Full villain monologue. Maximum cringe. One old man mutters that his mood already could not get worse. Then Redhead suddenly gets slammed down hard. When he sits up, our man stands nearby. The Redhead demands to know who he is. Dove 5 answers coldly, saying he is Death. Then he proceeds to beat the Redhead up, who then immediately switches tone and apologizes. But the apology does not stop the beating. Dove 5 tells him to hurry up, apologize, and move the car. The 2 elderly men watch and comment that the kid from the 4th floor is nice, so they wonder what is wrong with his friend. Dove 5 tries to explain his friend's behavior, saying his friend is basically self-taught when it comes to manners. Translation: Bro was raised by an absent father and an absent mother too. From above, someone watches from a building. The fat man wonders what he is supposed to do with that guy. The scene moves to the local food place. Dove 5 sits with his new buddies. He waves with a friendly smile and calls for Lingling to take an order. Lingling responds warmly, recognizing him immediately. Dove 5 compliments Lingling for her weight loss. The masked man from before realizes that unlike agents who erase their presence, Dove 5 blends into the surroundings and looks like just another local. As Dove 5 makes small talk with Lingling, the masked man thinks that it is honestly hard to tell whether Dove 5 is a good agent or not. Fair. His spy method is apparently become the friendly neighborhood NPC. The fat guy gets a notification that immediately calls them all to base and realizes he can use this opportunity. Dove 5 scratches the back of his head and says they will have to close the base for a while. He adds that there is no need to stay there and asks what they should do. The fat man cuts him down immediately, telling him he is not in a position to worry about the base. He adds that his own status is the bigger issue. The fat man asks whether he knows the agency's first motto. The motto is that they work in the shadows and aim for the light. The fat man explains that the basic rule of espionage is not getting caught. Then he turns the point directly onto Dove 5, making it clear that his careless conduct as a Black Ops agent is a serious problem. Dove 5 starts sweating. The fat man warns that if he reports this, the young man will be fired immediately. But then he adds that he rates Dove 5's workability very highly. The fat man says he will give him one last chance. Dove 5 repeats the idea back, surprised. The fat man explains that a full assembly order has just been issued, but he does not know what the mission is yet. The fat man tells him that if he fails this mission, he will leave the area immediately and never come back to China. The order is blunt, no wiggle room, no respawn, and definitely no oopsies. Dove 5 smiles awkwardly and asks if he gets any choice. He tries to joke about whether he has any chance. The fat man asks if he wants to get fired by the agency right now. Dove 5 instantly backs down. He laughs, gives a thumbs up, and says that if they tell him to jump, he should simply ask how high. In his head, he knows he is effed. He decides to let that one slide. His expression becomes serious, and he thinks about having 5 mouths to feed. He decides that he will make sure this mission succeeds. Night falls over the NIS base called Forest Path Bar. Dove 5 and the fat guy walk down steps toward it. Dove 5 asks if the fat man comes there often. The fat man answers that this is only his second time. He explains that Dove 1 and Dove 3 are based there. The fat man says all agents from nearby regions will gather there. The fat man says all agents from nearby regions will gather there. As they approach the entrance, he warns Dove 5 to pay attention as a rookie and not cause more regulation problems. Dove 5 answers quietly that he understands. In simple words, this means that breaking regulations includes things like using real names with each other. Inside the base, a large smiling man sits at a table, holding up his drink. He happily greets the fat man like an old friend and calls him first bro. The timing is insane. No one is beating the rule-breaking allegations. Dove 5 demands an explanation for this, and the fat man explains that the name being used is not his real name anyway, and that people just call him first bro. Someone calls Dove 5 by the wrong name, but the fat man tells him that from now on his name is Hyun Guk. Dove 5 accepts it and sits with them at the table. The cheerful man introduces himself as Dove 1 and tells Dove 5 to call him first bro. He laughs and says he will be in the first bro's care. Dove 5 leans towards the fat man and whispers, asking why he has to be Hyunuk. The fat man whispers back that it is better than the name Samsoon, which had been assigned before. Dove 5 admits that may be true, but he still looks bothered. First bro then calls out for Samsoon to bring 2 beers. Dove 5 then covers his mouth and starts laughing to himself. He thinks the name is too funny. Samsoon enters the frame, her merchandise on full display. The smirk is wiped off Dove 5's face when he realizes what beauty Samsoon actually is. A man in the Black Dragon Society lights a cigarette while bodies lie across the floor. The boss sits at the table and orders the heads and hands to be thrown away separately. His men report that they roughed up every suspicious person, but nothing useful came out. No leads, just cleanup. The boss says it is time for an explanation from Room 34. Wu Shi steps forward and says Room 34's leader, Director Choi, has already arrived in Dandong. The boss is amused at first, and says Choi should explain the gas station incident properly. Then Wu Shi says Director Choi is demanding compensation. The boss snaps immediately. Wu Shi explains that Choi blames the Black Dragon Society because the incident happened in their territory. The boss calls for war and tells his men to prepare. Yep, diplomacy lasted about 3 seconds. Wu Shi stops him, and says Shenyang ordered them to accept the demand. If they fail to supply the North Korean product to Incheon port by the day after tomorrow, they will lose the Korean market to the Malaysians. They also have to calm Director Choi down and buy the special medicines he brought. The boss hates it. He slams the table hard and curses the Korean Daerim gang for being ready to buy at a high price if the purity is good. Then he shifts the blame to the gas station thief and asks Wu Shi if they got anything from the police. Wu Shi says the CCTV analysis near the gas station is almost finished. The boss grins. Soon they will finally see the thief's face. Yoon-guk introduces himself awkwardly as Dove 5. Dove 1 laughs and says he thought Dove 5 would be more of a maniac. Then Dove 3 appears. She introduces herself calmly, and Dove 1 explains that she is Samsoon. Yoon-guk sees her and instantly malfunctions. He thinks she is insanely gorgeous. His hand shakes while he grabs his beer. Bro is trying to be professional, but his brain has fully left the chat. Dove 3 asks about the name Hyun-uk. Hyun-guk panics and says if first bro says he is Hyun-uk, then he is Hyun-uk. Then he immediately worries that he sounded too eager. Dove 3 gets annoyed about her own call sign. She asks why only hers has to be like that when there are so many normal names. Dove 1 tries to joke about it, but she shuts him down fast. Hyun-guk sits there realizing the agents are not what he expected. He thought Samsoon might be like a famous actress from Korea, and he was nervous about meeting everyone. But now, every agent here seems to have a weirdly intense personality. Not exactly the elite spy, tick-up-butt vibe he imagined. The fat man notices Hyun-guk staring and asks what he is looking at. Before that can go anywhere, Dove 1 claps and starts briefing them on tomorrow's operation. The fat man asks why the other agents are not there yet. Dove 3 says they still have not arrived. Dove 1 says the rest will join tomorrow, but Hyun-guk has something to do first. Dove 1 brings up the car Hyun-guk photographed the day before. He says it belongs to a high-risk individual, who rarely shows his face. Director Choi, the head of North Korea Room 39 Special Medicine Division. Dove 1 explains that Choi likely moved because of the unexplained gas station scene. There is also a rumor that someone stole money and the special medicines. Hyun-guk quietly drinks because yeah, that one hits a little too close. The mission is simple but not easy. Director Choi is staying at Sianwei Hotel and is expected to meet the Black Dragon Society. The agents plan to capture him before that meeting. Hyun-guk's role is to pose as a hotel guest, get a clear photo of Choi's face and tail him if he moves. Basically, he has to set up the whole abduction. Dove 1 asks if there are questions. Hyun-guk raises his hand and says his camera is way too big for the job. He asks for something smaller, like a compact camera or body cam. Dove 1 gets excited and calls it a hidden camera mission. He tells Samsoon to help him. Samsoon steps closer and starts checking Hyun-guk's clothes for a place to hide the body cam. Hyun-guk freezes while she gets close. He blushes hard. He thinks that once he finds his 2.4 billion he will quit. But with Samsoon this close, he starts thinking staying at the job might not be so bad. Down bad? Absolutely. The next day, Shanwei Hotel comes into view. Inside the basement elevator area, the Black Dragon boss waits with his men and complains that the elevator is too slow. One of his men says Director Choi is in room 1305. One Kraswa boy. Zual Joy then says they just received a photo of the gas station thief from the police. The boss tears open the envelope fast and looks at the photo. His expression changes. He recognizes the thief from somewhere. He says he will find the bastard and flay him alive. The elevator opens. Hyun-guk is standing inside. He looks out and freezes. The Black Dragon boss stands right in front of him, holding the photo. Their eyes meet. The boss recognizes him. Yeah, mission hasn't even started, and Hyun-guk is already cooked. Hyun-guk freezes in the elevator as the Black Dragon boss studies the photo in his hand. Hyun-guk instantly clocks the group as obvious gangsters and warns himself not to react like he recognizes the Black Dragon Society. The boss stares at him, sensing something off. Samsoon watches from surveillance and urgently tells Hyun-guk to act natural, not like an agent, like a stupid Korean tourist. Hyun-guk forces a big fake smile and pretends he found a cafe famous for strawberry cake. He even points at the cafe to show what he means. It is painfully awkward, but somehow he commits. Bro chooses to be the idiot to live another day. The gang starts walking past him, but one man grabs his shoulder and snaps at him for holding the elevator too long. Hyun-guk panics for half a second. Sam-soon pushes him again to act like a tourist. So Hyun-guk starts flailing, pretending he cannot speak Chinese. He apologizes, begs them not to hit him, and acts completely harmless. The boss keeps checking the photo, still suspicious, but decides Hyun-guk is probably nobody important. He tells his men to move. As they leave, the boss orders them to catch the motorcycle thief after the meeting. He tells them to share the motorcycle's license plate with the others. Hyun-guk contacts Sam-soon and asks about the Black Dragon men who just passed by. Sam-soon confirms their identities. The pale-haired man is Wu Shi, the Dandong Vice Branch leader. The large boss is Wang Yudong, the Black Dragon Society's Dandong branch leader. Hyun-guk reacts hard to that name. He remembers the tied-up red-haired man mentioning the guy connected to Old Man Choi. He remembers Old Man Choi being ended. His expression drops. Wang Yudong is not just another gangster to him. The scene shifts back to the operation. Hyun-guk sits at a table and notes that the two sides are already meeting. Sam-soon says the Black Dragon Society is now a variable, but the operation continues as planned. The objective is clear: capture North Korea Room 39's Medicine Division leader. Dove 1 says Hyun-guk, as Dove 5, must command the Black Ops agents. When the perfect moment comes, the success or failure of the operation rests on him. No pressure. Totally normal rookie workload. Then Sam-soon alerts him. The Black Dragon Society's cars are moving. She says if the meeting is over, the target will likely move separately soon. The target car pulls out, and Hyun-guk follows on his motorcycle. The plan is to strike when there are fewer people around the target. All agents follow Hyun-guk's lead. Sam-soon tells him not to lose the target no matter what, but inside another car, Wang Yudong spots the motorcycle. He realizes Hyun-guk is the one who robbed them. He grins and says he is lucky to run into the motorcycle from the photo. Wang orders his men to ram Hyun-guk at the next corner, shove him into the trunk, and bring him in. Yeah, this just turned from tailing mission to GTA 5. Wu Ji stops him. He points out that the car Hyun-guk is following belongs to Room 39 director Choi. Wang realizes what that means. If the gas station thief is tailing Choi, then Hyun-guk may not be acting alone. Wang immediately assumes the North Koreans are scheming against him. He snaps and orders everyone to arm up and assemble. The perspective moves to Room 39 director Choi Young-gil. He also notices the chaos behind him. From his side, it looks like the Black Dragon Society is making a wild move. His men say they will arrive at the warehouse soon, and Choi tells them not to stop until they get there. Choi gets angry that the Black Dragon Society is following them so openly. He asks why they are acting like they are not even trying to hide it. Meanwhile, Hyun-guk keeps riding behind Choi's car. Behind Hyun-guk, the Black Dragon Society follows him. Sam-soon types fast, checks the plate, and realizes the car behind Hyun-guk belongs to Black Dragon. The road setup is now cursed. Room 39 in front, Hyun-guk in the middle, Black Dragon behind him. Worst sandwich ever. Hyun-guk realizes why they are chasing him. He remembers stealing from the Black Dragon Society 2.4 billion won and 20 kilograms of special medicines, worth about 5 billion won total. Then it hits him. They figured it out. He panics under the helmet. If they catch him, he is dead meat. He starts losing it while still riding, begging for his life in pure fear mode. Sam-soon tells him to hold it together because agents will arrive in 5 minutes. The NIS Black Ops team begins moving. At the same time, Black Dragon's entire Dandong branch is heading toward them in full combat mode. Now 3 forces are rushing into the same mess. North Korea's Room 39 Special Medicine Division, the NIS Mad Dogs, and the Black Dragon Society. Sam-soon keeps trying to snap Hyun-guk back to focus. He keeps speeding forward, trapped between the target and the gang chasing him. 5 minutes remain until bloodshed. Hyun-guk is still on the bike, still panicking, and the whole operation is one bad turn away from exploding. Dove Sam soon calls for Hyun-guk, while the scene cuts to a Room 39 North Korea safe house. Inside, the safe house leader is breathing hard and asking why Hyun-guk is doing nothing. Hyun-guk answers from outside, but the situation is already ridiculous. He is crouched in front of an old woman's dog, holding its paws while she happily talks to him. Hyun-guk panics, wondering how everything turned into this. The old woman keeps acting friendly, pushing the dog toward him, and Hyun-guk is stuck playing nice while a Black Ops crisis is unfolding nearby. Bro got drafted into emergency dog duty. He explains to Sam-soon that he parked the motorcycle at a nearby park, and no one followed him there. He says the Black Dragon Society chased him for a while, then stopped. After that, the target got out and entered a house. Hyun-guk looks at the building and says it seems like a Room 39 safe house. Hyun-guk holds the dog and says he will check with headquarters first. Sam-soon tells him other agents are nearby, so they should hold position and watch how things move. Then gunfire suddenly erupts from the safe house. Hyun-guk looks up, shocked. Sam-soon hears it too and asks what happened. Hyun-guk realizes the Black Dragon Society is attacking the Room 39 safe house. Inside, Black Dragon men storm through the building with guns. They shoot through the rooms and shout that these are the people who stole from them. They order everyone inside to be executed and tell each other to take back the cash and special medicines. The safe house turns into a full-on bloodbath. Hyun-guk watches from outside and finally understands why they are fighting. He admits the reason they are clashing is because of him. Tiny self-awareness moment. Rare drop. Sam-soon says if things continue like this, the operation will fail. Hyun-guk flashes back to being told that if the mission fails, he is finished. Then his mind goes straight to the real nightmare. If he gets kicked out, he cannot move the money, and his 2.4 billion is gone. That flips the switch. Hyun-guk tells Sam-soon that Dove 5 is moving in. Sam-soon panics because she is a non-combat intel agent, and Hyun-guk does not even have a weapon. He looks down at what he has and starts treating the grocery bag like equipment. Sam-soon realizes what he is doing and calls out that he is using a shopping bag as a weapon. Sam-soon tells him to act like a dove and stay put. Then he grips the cart and says he has 5 mouths to feed back in Korea. Rent life has officially become his power source. He walks toward the safe house, dragging the floral shopping cart behind him. Sam-soon calls him insane and wonders what one dove can even do there. A guard outside notices the squeaking cart. Before he can react, Hyun-guk launches in from above. A can of wet dog food flies through the air and smashes into the guard. The guard drops immediately. Hyun-guk lands and keeps moving. Sam-soon watches him on the monitor and questions what he really is. He walks in with complete confidence, still dragging the cart. Sam-soon realizes he has no proper weapons and no plan, but Hyun-guk just keeps going. The man is really entering a gunfight with groceries. Peak plot armor moment. RD. Inside, he starts using whatever he has. A power strip becomes a weapon. A frozen mackerel becomes a weapon. Men scream as he takes them down with random household items. Sam-soon says he does not seem like a Black Ops agent at all, but he is insanely strong. Hargok reaches the room where the special medicines and cash are. He crouches near the bags and checks them. Someone from Black Dragon shouts that they found the special medicines and cash. Hyun-guk realizes the shootout is basically over. The Black Dragon boss orders his men to grab the dollars and special medicines and get out before witnesses show up. His men say they ended everyone, and there is nothing left to check. That hits Hyun-guk hard. The Black Dragon Society has taken his 2.4 billion. Then he realizes they also ended the Room 39 leader. This is bad. Like career ending and wallet ending bad. Outside, Room 39 survivors regroup. A woman tells Director Choi that their secret passage will likely be discovered soon too. Choi is furious and curses the Black Dragon Society for going this far. He swears he will make them pay. Then the woman Songyun notices something. She points toward Hyun-guk's parked motorcycle. Choi recognizes it as the same motorcycle Black Dragon had been using to tail them. He smiles and decides heaven must be helping him. He orders Songyong to put a tracking device on the motorcycle. Meanwhile, Hyun-guk runs through the area with the shopping cart, trying to get back to the bike. The trap is already being set without him knowing. Choi decides that whoever rides that motorcycle will lead them straight to the enemy's nest. He promises that tomorrow he will make them pay for the humiliation. And Hyun-guk is still moving, completely unaware that his bike just became a tracking beacon. 1 mission, 3 factions, and somehow the grocery cart got more screen time than actual spy gear. Police lights flash near the safe house, and Hyun-guk bolts with the floral shopping cart still in hand. He realizes that if the police catch him here, the whole mess is over. He needs the motorcycle, and he needs it fast. Then a car pulls up. Hyun-guk stiffens, thinking it might be the police, but Daegan leans out and orders him to get in. Hyun-guk jumps in, and the car takes off. Daegan immediately snaps at him for entering the scene alone. Hyun-guk answers like it makes total sense, saying he went in to confirm whether the operation had failed. Daegan is not ready for that answer at all. Hyun-guk explains that he checked the bodies inside, and the target's body was not there. He concludes that the target probably escaped through a secret passage, so technically the operation is not completely failed. Insane logic, but he is standing on business. But back at base, Dove 1 flips the script instantly. He throws both thumbs up and declares the operation a success. Everyone reacts and Dongon is completely lost. Dove Gellin asks how it can be a success when they failed to capture the target and never even entered properly. Dove 1 says it is all thanks to Hyun-guk. Hyun-guk just stands there like he also needs subtitles for what is happening. Sam-soon explains the real reason. The point of capturing the target was to get Room 39 intel, but Hyun-guk already brought back useful items from the scene. The shopping bag is shown with everything inside: a smartphone, laptop, external hard drive, graphics card, wallet, cash, watch, and jewelry. Daegeon realizes Hyun-guk just grabbed whatever he could find. Loot goblin behavior. Somehow mission value. Dove 1 admits the operation only succeeded because Hyun-guk got lucky. Daegeon still recommends disciplinary action for Dove 5. Sam-soon agrees that Hyun-guk acted independently without orders, and says it was a very wrong move. It could have ruined the whole operation and put him at risk. Dove 1 listens and admits that from a commander's perspective that is a fair point. Later, the agents gather around a table for food and drinks. Dove 1 says a success is still a success, so they should leave Hyun-guk's case there. Other agents join in, including Dalian agents Hawk 8 and Hawk 5, and Shenyang agents Hawk 7 and Hawk 6. Someone asks where Samsoon is. Dodgon says she is analyzing the data Hyunguk brought back, though he thinks she might also be sulking after not getting Hyunguk punished. Then he makes a comment about her personality and marriage. Sir, read the room. The mood turns into a sudden get-together. Meat hits the grill, soju comes out, and Hyunguk sits there feeling strangely empty. Dove 1 says he is in a great mood, and brings out something special he had flown in. It is homemade kimchi. After living abroad for so long, food from home hits different. For a moment the whole mission mess turns into a family dinner. Then Dagyeon brings the mood back down. He tells Hyunguk not to take it the wrong way, but says Hyunguk only survived because he got lucky. He says back in his day, acting like that would have gotten him beaten half to death. Hyunguk goes quiet. The other agents start arguing. Some say procedures matter and rookies should not act alone. Others say a success is still a success. The table gets awkward fast. Hornguk sits there wondering why everyone is fighting over him. The mood is ruined and he clearly just wants this to stop. Dove 1 suddenly cuts in and asks what the most important thing is for an NIS agent. Dove Gyeon answers with the textbook rule: follow plans, follow principles, work in the shadows, and aim for the light. Dove 1 slams the table and says that is not what he asked. He says everyone should remember what Hyunguk said before entering the safe house. Hyunguk looks confused. Dove 1 explains that he saw Hyunguk's body cam footage. Hyunguk went into a shootout scene alone and unarmed, surrounded by gunfire and bodies. Before going in, he said there was something he absolutely had to protect. Hyunguk knows the truth. He meant his money. But Dove 1 completely misunderstands it. He says Hyunguk entered that hell involving North Korea's Room 39 and the Chinese Triad to protect the Republic of Korea and the everyday lives of its people. Everyone is stunned at the delusion for a second. Then the agents start applauding. They give Hyunguk a standing ovation and praise his patriotism. Hyunguk just sits there, confused, then awkwardly thanks them. Bro accidentally became a national hero by protecting his cash. He decides to roll with it and thinks he should go look for the motorcycle. The next day, a tracker on the motorcycle starts moving. Director Choi gets the report and reacts with satisfaction. He orders all forces to move out. Armed men prepare to deploy. The order is clear. Today, they raid the hideout. The safe house appears again at night, and the next disaster is already loading. At the Room 39 secondary safe house, the operator reports that the motorcycle tracker has stopped. She also confirms they found the hideout nearby. Director Choi lights up immediately and orders all forces to move out. Cars roll into the night. The hunt is on. Hyunguk and the fat guy look at the men, recognizing the number as a Room 39 vehicle. The men take out their guns, ready to remake World War II. 12 hours earlier, the agents are back at base. Hawk 7 says all of this is thanks to Hyunguk. Hyunguk is confused, but Hawk 6 explains that because of him, the Selyang agents no longer need to stay. They leave while calling him a super rookie. The second operation begins. Dove 1 explains that the goal is to stop the Black Dragon Society's special medicine looting. More specifically, they need to block North Korean special medicines from entering South Korea through Incheon port. Using the Room 39 data Hyunguk brought back, they learn that a special medicine looting operation at Incheon port is coming soon. Dove 1 says everyone has their own duties, but this operation becomes top priority. Their first objective is to find the Black Dragon Society's Dandong branch headquarters. Dove 1 says they have 6 suspected locations. Hyunguk suddenly says he knows where it is. Everyone reacts. The room goes still because the rookie just casually solved the first step. Samsoon asks how he figured it out. Hyunguk smiles and says he just got lucky. He explains that he recently picked it up through personal intel work. A flashback shows him getting information from someone, and he admits he did not plan it, but everything lined up. He starts explaining the situation around the special medicine market. The other agents listen, surprised that he already knows this much. Samsoon notes that the source may not be perfectly reliable, but they are short on time. First Bro says life is 7 parts luck and 3 parts send, and Hyunguk is something else. Daegeon watches Hyunguk closely. He thinks Hyunguk clearly does not plan anything, but everything somehow works out. Even he has to wonder if someone can really be this lucky. The agents applaud. Hyunguk just sits there, blank-faced, like he still does not know why everyone keeps glazing him. Dove 1 says they can move right away. Hyunguk points out that he does not have his motorcycle because he ditched it at the last operation site. Dove 1 tells him to go with Daegeon by car, pick up the bike first, then head near the Black Dragon Dandong branch and watch the area. At the same time, Room 39 is already tracking that motorcycle. Their operator reports that the tracker is moving. Director Choi orders every force to follow it. Hyunguk and Daegeon arrive near the area. From the car they spot Room 39 vehicles pulling up near the Black Dragon Society's Dandong branch. Dandong sees the truck and realizes it belongs to Room 39. He asks how they found this place. Before there is any answer, Room 39 men storm the warehouse. Gunfire breaks out immediately. They attack the Black Dragon branch and order their men not to let anyone through. The whole place turns into a firefight. Dandong says they are fighting again. He does not know how the North Koreans found the Black Dragon Society's special medicine warehouse, but he admits this works out for them. Houndgook says Black Dragon will not be able to loot anything now, so the operation is basically a success. Daegyeon looks at him and says there is no reason for it, but his gut tells him this is all because of Houndgook. Houndgook thinks the mission should have taken years, but now it is ending in one day. He watches the warehouse and says it looks like North Korea won the shootout. Then he wonders what they are searching for. Donggook warns him not to rely on luck. He says the enemy does not seem to have found much and is just raging while pulling out. He starts thinking that espionage depends on planning, so he needs to drill that into the rookie. Then he turns around. Houndgook is already gone. Domgoku spots him climbing through the opening and heading straight into the Black Dragon warehouse. He yells after him, but Houndgook keeps moving. Daekyeon gets furious. He thinks Houndgook got lucky once, and now developed a bad habit. He decides this kid needs a serious lecture. Then Houndgook comes back carrying heavy bags in both hands. Daekyeon decides that today is the day he throws hands at a rookie. Houndgook tells Daekyeon to help him grab the money bags and get out. Daekyeon freezes. Then he checks the bag and sees stacks of cash inside. His whole attitude changes instantly. He shouts that it really is money, pulls out bundles and even sniffs them. Bro folded at light speed. Daegyeon imagines what this much cash means. He says with this much money, they will never need to touch stocks again. Houndgook snaps at him for sniffing the money and tells him to hurry up and move the bags. Daegyeon laughs and points out that Houndgook just spoke way too casually to his senior. Houndgook loses patience and says there are 4 more bags like this, so Daegyeon needs to move already. Daegyeon pauses. Then he blushes and sweetly agrees. The second operation ends in a single day. Later, Daegyeon asks where they are headed. The answer points them straight toward the Black Dragon Society. A few hours earlier, Houndgook and Daegyeon watch the aftermath near the Black Dragon Society's Dandong branch. Houndgook says it looks like North Korea won the shootout, but they were searching for the special medicines and did not seem to find much. They got angry and pulled out. Houndgook thinks through what the North Koreans wanted: money, special medicines, and revenge for the safe house attack. Then it clicks. If they left in a hurry, something important might still be inside. Daegyeon suddenly runs for the warehouse. Houndgook reaches after him because he too wants in on the loot. As he runs, Houndgook thinks about what matters more than money. He remembers Old Man Choi, who was practically his only comrade. He remembers Dove 2, the black agent who tried to stop special medicines from entering Korea. Dove 2 was eliminated by Wang Yudong. Houndgook decides that whether someone else ended Wang or not, he has to see Wang Yudong's body with his own eyes. He enters the room with his gun ready. Then he finds Wang Yudong slumped in a chair, badly wounded and barely alive. Houndgook stands in front of him and calls his name. Wang Yudong still talks back, saying Houndgook has mouthed off enough and is dead now. But Houndgook sees the situation clearly. The North Koreans already got revenge for him. Houndgook quietly puts his hands together and prays for Old Man Choi to rest in peace. One goal is handled. Now only one remains. He realizes the North Koreans pulled back too fast. That means there was something hidden in the warehouse, and they failed to find it. They already checked the obvious spots, so Houndgook starts looking for what feels wrong. He studies the room: a knocked-over plant, a desk, some random objects. Then he notices the bookshelf. At first he thinks about Wang Yudong's face being the thing that looks out of place. Bro really pauses mid-investigation just to roast a dying man. But then he focuses. The bookshelf itself is weird. It is not a liquor display. It is just a bookshelf. And Wang Yudong absolutely does not look like a guy who reads. Just imagine a huge mafia dude, sitting around reading fanfic all day. Hilarious. Houndgook presses on the shelf. It shifts. A hidden door opens. Inside he finds a secret space packed with stacks of cash. Massive jackpot. He dumps all the special medicines down the toilet and brings back the abandoned cash. Back at base, Houndgook and Daekhon return with bags of money. The agents stare in disbelief. Daegyeon says he counted it, and it is $20 million, about 2.4 billion won. Houndgook found it at the scene. Daegyeon instantly suggests splitting it into 400 million won each. Houndgook gives a bright, shameless thumbs up. Everyone loses it. The agents rush him, cheer his name, and raise their drinks in a toast to Houndgook. A dish is brought out, and someone presents Masan-style pollock stew. The mood flips into a full celebration. They are acting like Houndgook just won Employee of the Century. Four Eyes says he really learned how to make the dish right, because his mother runs a restaurant in Masan. Then he notices Samsoon is not eating and asks about her. Houndgook says she is probably busy, and tells him to leave her alone. Houndgook switches topics and asks Daegyeon how to send money back to Korea. Daegyeon immediately says he will give him a broker's number later. Houndgook is caught off guard by how smoothly he answers. Daegyeon explains that the fee is high, but the broker is reliable. He also warns Houndgook not to quit for the next few years. If Houndgook quits and starts spending money right away, people will get suspicious. But while he is nice, other agencies cannot mess with him easily. Houndgook notices Daegyeon has completely switched up just because he gave him money. He is annoyed, but Daegyeon keeps acting friendly. Daegyeon talks like they are family now because they made $1 billion together. If someone gave me $1 billion, best believe I would act like their brother too. Houndgook wants to hit him for the way he talks, but then he gets an idea. He says even if he stays, there is still a problem because his old base has been exposed. Daegyuan answers that he will assign him to a different base. Houndguk gets exactly what he needed. Tips for not-so-legal money transfers, plus a new base. Of course, the big problem remains. He is going crazy because he cannot keep the whole 2.4 billion to himself. Still, he looks at the agents around him and admits that now he has a new family. The group smiles around him like they are suddenly one big found family crew. Very wholesome. Also extremely suspicious. He breaks down crying, telling himself there is no way he can mentally cope with losing that much money. He screams over his money, completely wrecked. New family or not, the cash wound is still fresh. At the Nyas safe house, Forest Trail Bar, Samsoon storms in and demands to be sent into the field on the next mission. She points out that Houndguk, who is also a pigeon, gets field work, so she wants the same chance. She is not asking politely. She is heated. First Bro teases her and reminds her that pigeon number 5 has a special talent as an agent. Samsoon calls that discrimination. She says she has been practicing and training consistently, so she deserves a shot too. Samsoon gives Houndguk under the bus as she admits Houndguk's results are impressive, but he does not follow plans. He just somehow survives with luck. Samsoon pushes back, but First Bro tells her that at his level, he sees things differently. He explains that in their world where every mission is life or death, completing an operation in your own way shows real composure. To him, Houndguk's luck is not just luck. Samsoon is still annoyed. First Bro tells her she will get her chance later. She snaps because he always says later by calling it dangerous. She insists she is not useless. First Bro goes quiet and stares into his beer. That shuts the argument down fast. Samsoon reads the room, apologizes, and says she will head downstairs. The moment gets awkward. After she leaves, First Bro sits alone. He touches his chest, takes out a small locket, and looks at the photo inside. He exhales quietly, staying still at the table. The scene shifts to night. Houndguk drives a rented car through the city toward his old safe house. He looks up at the building and thinks it is a shame this is the last time, because he had gotten attached to the place. He opens the back of the car. He has cleaned the safe house because he has to move, and he has also handled some overdue business. In the trunk, cash cases sit waiting. Houndguk treats the money like a precious companion, saying it suffered underground and will stay with him from now on. Bro is emotionally attached to the bag, understandable but still insane, and remembers digging up the 2.4 billion won he buried at the gas station. Combined with the 4 billion won from the last operation, that makes 6.4 billion won. After the broker's fee, he calculates that he will receive 5.4 billion won. Houndguk is basically vibrating with greed. Then he suddenly pauses and tells his cash to wait. He remembers that someone will erase the traces of him living there and move everything to the new place. Inside the safe house, Houndguk is now wearing cleaning gear and wiping things down. He hears knocking at the door. A voice from outside calls him the young man from the 4th floor and says he knows he is inside. Houndguk realizes it is Boss Hyo from the real estate agency downstairs. Boss Hyo complains that if Houndguk put the house on the market, he should show the inside. Houndguk lets him in with a friendly smile. He thinks about the two nosy old men in the neighborhood, Boss Hyo from real estate, and Boss Jin from the hardware store. Boss Hyo looks practical, so Houndguk figures he just needs to answer his questions properly. Boss Hyo asks if Houndguk broke anything in the house. He tells him to look around and says everything should wash off without issue. Houndguk plays along and says he will finish cleaning and move out today. Then Boss Hyo suddenly asks if Houndguk is erasing his living traces and moving to another safe house. Houndguk freezes. Boss Hyo pulls a gun. Yeah, the landlord side quest just turned into counterintelligence. Boss Hyo points the gun and says Houndguk has been running around too much. Houndguk raises his hands and tries to laugh it off, saying there must be a misunderstanding. While talking, Houndguk slowly tries to close the distance. He thinks that if he gets close enough, he can subdue Boss Hyo. But Boss Hyo notices immediately and warns him that if he comes closer, he will not hesitate. Houndguk stops. He realizes Boss Hyo knows exactly what he is doing. If Boss Hyo lets him close, Houndguk can disarm him, so the man is not bluffing blind. He knows enough. Then Boss Hyo says it outright. He calls Houndguk an agent of the Republic of Korea Nay. Houndguk is stunned. Boss Hyo warns him not to try anything. He holds a gun and a device, saying that if a gunshot rings out or if he presses one button, the place will be locked down and special forces will storm in. Houndguk understands the setup. Boss Hyo came to talk. If he wanted to end him, he would have already fired. Still, he asks if going this far was really necessary. Boss Hyo says that if he had not done this, Houndguk would have either fled or attacked him. Fair read. Annoyingly fair. Houndguk stays still and asks one thing before they talk. Boss Hyo's affiliation. Boss Hyo smiles and says he is MSS, the Ministry of State Security. Houndguk instantly recognizes it as China's top counter-espionage and security agency. Boss Hyo lowers the mood even further and says that from now on he will make Houndguk an offer he cannot refuse.